This YouTube video will take a deep dive into the lore of the Gloam-eyed Queen. I will analyze every piece of evidence related to her appearance, draw conclusions, and piece together the full picture. The Gloam-eyed Queen is an Empyrean chosen by the Fingers. She led the Godskins in their hunt for the gods, but was ultimately defeated by Malekith the Black Blade. In the main game of Elden Ring, we find only a few items directly connected to her, which is why her character remains shrouded in mystery. The only two items that can be considered her own are the Godskin Swaddling Cloth and her sword, the Godslayer's Greatsword. Other items that reference her include the Black Flame incantations and the armor worn by her followers, the Godskins. The Godskins, through their appearance and the locations we encounter them, serve as crucial pieces of evidence in unraveling the mystery behind the Gloam-eyed Queen's identity, purpose, and reasons for hunting and flaying gods. Given that the Godskins are our primary clue, it makes sense to examine the locations where we encounter them in the game. In the main game of Elden Ring, we meet 8 Godskins in total. 4 of these encounters are with individual Godskins, while the others feature pairs of 2. While examining the map and the places where Godskins appear, I noticed a recurring pattern. Rennala and Radagon had 3 children together: Rykard, Radahn, and Ranni. And every one of those 3 is somehow connected or guarded by a Godskin. At the Divine Tower of Caelid, the site where Radahn's rune is activated, we encounter a Godskin apostle guarding the Godslayer's Greatsword. At the Divine Tower of Liurnia, where Ranni's body is found at the top, another Godskin apostle awaits. In Volcano Manor, where Rykard resides, we again find a Godskin apostle. As previously established, the presence of Godskins often signifies a significant connection to the Gloam-eyed Queen. So why do we find evidence of the Gloam-eyed Queen in locations associated with Radagon and Renala's children? As I mentioned in my previous videos, the Gloam-eyed Queen is not only connected to Radahn. There are many hints linking her to Caelid in general, though I'll delve deeper into that later in the video. In Volcano Manor, where Rykard has been consumed by a giant serpent, we encounter a Godskin noble at the Temple of Eglay. This temple, designed like a church, features a massive serpent skin stretched across the altar, evoking the shape of a uterus. On the altar we find the serpent's amnion, an item resembling a serpent egg. The temple's entrance and pillars are adorned with statues of winged snakes with bird-like claws. In Aztec mythology, such creatures are associated with creation, aligning with the Gloam-eyed Queen, who is often linked to motherhood through her role in creating the Godskins. The item Godskin Swaddling Cloth tells us, sacred cloth of the Godskin apostles, made from supple skins sewn together. The Gloam-eyed Queen cradles newborn apostles swaddled in this cloth. Soon they will grow to become the death of the gods. To me, this suggests that the Godskins are swaddled in this fabric from birth, growing with the cloth, which may never be removed. This could explain why they flay the gods they hunt, to create more swaddling cloths and expand their army. Interestingly, the swaddling cloth resembles a self-stitched serpent egg, which might explain the Godskins' snake-like characteristics, such as their tails and the apostles' ability to stretch like serpents. The winged serpents depicted in the temple could also symbolize something else. In mythology, dragons were often described as snake-like hybrids, combining traits of reptiles, birds, and predators. In the world of Elden Ring, the snake represents betrayal of the Erd Tree and is a symbol of blasphemy. Volcano Manor itself embodies blasphemy, being home to snakes, fire, and Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy, all opposing the gods and the Golden Order. Another location where we encounter a Godskin is Dominula, the Windmill Village. Here, the residents engage in ritualistic skinning of others during festivals. The wooden pillars in the village resemble Marika's crucifixion inside the Erd Tree. Decorated with flowers, these pillars suggest that the villagers despise Queen Marika, celebrating her imprisonment and crucifixion rather than revering her. The first time we face the Godskins as a duo is in the Spirit Caller Cave, where they are summoned by a snake-like snail. Defeating them rewards us with the Godskin Swaddling Cloth, a talisman that restores HP upon defeating an enemy. This effect aligns with other items associated with Volcano Manor, such as the Blasphemous Blade, Taker's Cameo, and the Serpent God's Curved Sword. Farum Azula holds the most references to the Gloam-eyed Queen. Here, we fight Malekith, who, upon defeat, releases destined death. We also encounter the Godskin duo in this location. Malekith, the Godskins, and destined death are the 3 constants associated with the Gloam-eyed Queen, all gathered in one place. From the various endings, we know that the current god must always be defeated for a new god to emerge, and usher in a new era with a consort by his or her side to serve as a vessel. This suggests that before Marika and the Golden Order, There must have been another era, another god with a consort, and thus another kingdom. In Farum Azula, we also meet the NPC invader Recusant Bernal, who appears to come directly from Volcano Manor, wielding a weapon adorned with snakes and using blasphemous incantations. When we defeat him, we obtain the Blasphemous Claw, which gives us an advantage in the battle against Malekith. Behind him we find a chest seemingly adorned with an image of Malekith. Inside is the Old Lord's Talisman, which describes Farum Azula as an ancient royal city, and implies that Placidusax is a lord. This raises the question, if Placidusax, as a lord, could serve as a consort, who was the god he served? There are a lot of hints strongly connecting the Gloam-eyed Queen to Farum Azula. The Godskin duo, the Godslayer's greatsword, which looks like the tornado in the middle of Farum Azula, Malekith and Destined Death, depictions of statues showing a king and his queen with a child in her arm, Placidusax looking like an eyeball when you enter his arena with his heads forming the same spiral like the top of the Godslayer's greatsword does, the somber smithing stone +10, which resembles a dragon's jaw and contains the description, allowing the creation of a weapon capable of slaying a god. Was the Gloam-eyed Queen the goddess and Placidusax her consort? As you move through Farum Azula and pay attention to every detail, you'll see an increasingly strong connection between Farum Azula and Caelid, especially when comparing Malekith's boss arena and the Bestial Sanctum. In front of Malekith's boss room, right by the entrance, there are 4 dragon statues, each holding a torch. Entering the room, you find yourself on a circular platform surrounded by 8 pillars. These pillars form a path toward Malekith. 5 of them are destroyed, while 3 remain intact. Within the walls and pillars of the arena, you can see the remains of the Beastmen, who bear certain resemblances to Malekith. However, they're smaller and have a different jaw structure. Malekith himself resembles more of a large wolf. At the top of each intact pillar are symbols that look like depictions of 3 wolves. Behind Malekith, there's a statue of a praying woman surrounded by 3 wolves, and another depiction that resembles a different form of the Elden Ring. The meaning of these figures remains unclear. They're not mentioned in item descriptions, nor are there clear hints about their origin. Still, they were clearly placed there for us to see. They must hold some significance, which I'll discuss later in this video. 2 other details that are important for my theory are the following. First, if you look up in the Godskin duo's boss arena, you'll notice a blue veil. Second, in Farum Azula, there's an ornate chest depicting 4 beings that look very similar to Malekith. With that in mind, let's head over to Caelid and enter the Bestial Sanctum. Here we find direct parallels to Farum Azula and Malekith's boss room. 8 pillars also form a pathway here, at the end of which we meet the beast clergyman Gurranq, who is later revealed to be Malekith. The walls are lined with 8 torches that look almost identical to those in Farum Azula. Additionally, 8 bodies of deceased beast clergymen are here, matching the figures on the mysterious chest I mentioned before. Above all this, a blue veil hovers again, like in the Godskin boss arena. If you climb down the levels next to the Bestial Sanctum, you'll eventually reach a ledge where you'll find 4 beast clergyman corpses. There, you'll also find a dagger with a description stating that such weapons were given to high-ranking clergymen of Farum Azula. The question now is, was Malekith also once one of those clerics? If this is true, and if my theory from the last video is also correct, that the Gloam-eyed Queen ruled over Farum Azula until her defeat by Malekith, could this mean that Malekith was initially one of her subordinates and later betrayed her? This might explain how he ended up there, and why, after Marika's betrayal, he stayed. But the connections to Farum Azula and the Gloam-eyed Queen don't end in the Bestial Sanctum. Throughout Caelid, you'll find hints linking back to them. Most obviously, there's the presence of dragons and the Church of Dragon Communion. Additionally, we encounter the Godskins in both areas. We also find banished knights in both regions, who can perform dragon incantations and seem as if they're guarding something or someone. Now let's examine the statue and the depiction of what seems to be a variation of the Elden Ring. The child at the center of the wolves is clearly praying, though it's impossible to tell whether it's a boy or a girl. The child's hair includes something resembling a branch or part of a shrub, and both eyes are closed. One detail that immediately stands out is that the pose of the statue strongly resembles Miquella's pose in the final scene of Shadow of the Erd Tree. In this cutscene, Miquella is shown making an oath and asking Radahn to become his consort to usher in a new age. However, Since this does not fit the timeline, and Miquella has no known connection to Malekith or Farum Azula, we can rule out the possibility that the statue depicts him. Nevertheless, it's worth considering whether this might depict someone else making a similar oath. The three wolves surrounding the child also require careful consideration. In the game, these wolves resemble Radagon's wolf, but the art book depicts them as three white wolves. I couldn't determine why this discrepancy exists, but both depictions inform my theories. The symbolism of three wolves appears not only in Malekith's boss arena, but also at the tower where we meet Ranni. Early in the game, Ranni gifts us the spirit ashes that summons these wolves. Above the statue, we see an image resembling an ancient version of the Elden Ring. Its deliberate placement above the statue makes it an integral piece of this puzzle. The depiction of the Elden Ring helps us situate the statue within a historical timeline, thereby narrowing the possibilities. Farum Azula is described as a place beyond time, implying that time either flows differently there or doesn't flow at all. This suggests that a journey to Farum Azula is akin to traveling into the past. Several items associated with the Crucible describe it as the Crucible of Life, the primordial form of the Erd Tree. The description of the aspects of the Crucible Horn's incantation states, "This is a manifestation of the Erd Tree's primal vital energies, an aspect of the primordial crucible, where all life was once blended together." This description indicates that the Crucible is not a singular entity, but a concept where life was once merged. This manifests in two ways throughout the lands between: animals with human traits, and humans with animalistic affinities, such as the Beastmen and Godskins, beings that combine human and animal features. It also appears in structures composed of blended corpses and the Gate of Divinity. Examining Farum Azula as a whole reveals several connections to the Crucible. Here, we encounter the Godskin duo, beings with inhuman animalistic capabilities. Godskin apostles can stretch their bodies like serpents, while Godskin nobles have snake-like tails. Godskin nobles are described as the most ancient apostles who are said to have assimilated in human physiology, not unlike the Crucible, the Erd Tree in its primordial form. This is a clear reference to the Crucible. But that's not all. A closer look reveals that the stones of Farum Azula are formed from dead dragons, and the walls of some buildings are composed of deceased beastmen. The beastmen themselves resemble humans with animal traits. It is reasonable to conclude that Farum Azula exists in a bygone era, containing remnants of the Crucible Age. From this, we can infer that the depiction of the Elden Ring shows the version that existed at that time. Consequently, the statue likely represents a person who lived during the age of the Crucible, a figure with significant connections to Farum Azula. The challenge is to interpret the remaining clues from the perspective of this ancient time and the concept of the Crucible. Wolves play a significant role in Elden Ring regarding the Empyreans, beings capable of attaining godhood. Wolves are bestowed upon them by the Two Fingers as shadow-bound beasts to serve as protectors. Examples include Blide for Ranni and Malekith for Marika. But what if I told you there is a third such pairing hidden in the game? The description of the Raging Wolf armor states, "Armor worn by Vargram the Raging Wolf, one of the first Tarnished to visit the Round Table Hold. According to the old legends, wolves are the shadows of the Empyrean. Vargram aspired to such a state himself. This suggests that Vargram was a shadow, or something similar for an Empyrean. He wields the Godslayer's greatsword, the weapon of the Gloam-eyed Queen, and is encountered during the Volcano Manor questline. Volcano Manor itself has strong ties to the Gloam-eyed Queen, implying that Vargram was her shadow-bound beast." Now, you might be wondering how this connects to the statue in Farum Azula. The Raging Wolf helm description notes, "Vargram earned his nickname from the white wolf pelt that adorns this helm. In the Elden Ring art book, the statue is surrounded by 3 such white wolves. But this is far from the only connection between Farum Azula and the Gloam-eyed Queen, as my previous videos have shown. According to the Black Flame ritual description, the Gloam-eyed Queen was an Empyrean chosen by the Fingers, meant to ascend to godhood. I believe the statue depicts the moment when the Gloam-eyed Queen was chosen by the Fingers, destined to become the god consort of Placidusax. But we're not done yet. If my assumption is correct, this wouldn't be the only time the Gloam-eyed Queen became a goddess and inaugurated a new era. Looking at the Frenzied Flame ending, it's clear why many believe Melina is the Gloam-eyed Queen. However, I disagree. First, it doesn't fit the timeline, and second, it would be too obvious. I believe Melina serves as a vessel for the Gloam-eyed Queen, much like Radagon is to Marika. Although Melina is bodiless, she proves capable of affecting the physical world when she sets the Erd Tree ablaze. The reason I believe Melina serves as the Gloam-eyed Queen's vessel is due to several hints. The Gloam-eyed Queen is sometimes referred to as the Dusk-eyed Queen. Gloam is another word for twilight. Many assume the Gloam-eyed Queen must have two gloam-colored eyes, but this isn't necessarily the case. In Elden Ring, dusk is depicted as gray, and similar to Ash in the Age of the Duskborn ending. Looking at Melina in the Frenzied Flame ending, we see that she has one dusk-colored and one gloam-colored eye. This explains why both the terms gloam-eyed and dusk-eyed are used. With Marika and Radagon, we can see that the vessel can exhibit both its own traits and those of its god, as seen in their hair color and proportions. Throughout the game, Melina has regular white skin and golden eyes. Once she becomes the Gloam-eyed Queen's vessel, her eyes change color, and she gains a gray skin tone similar to the god skins. The game then shows an image of the shattered Erd Tree, a symbol of divinity, with the sky resembling dawn, a gloam sky. Finally, we hear Melina say, "Lord of the Frenzied Flame, I will seek you as far as you may travel, to deliver what is yours, destined death." When the Gloam-eyed Queen was defeated by Malekith, destined death was sealed. After Malekith's defeat, destined death is released and returned to its original bearer, the Gloam-eyed Queen. It's likely that the Gloam-eyed Queen bestows destined death upon Melina, just as Radahn receives the power of light from Miquella. The Frenzied Flame ending has a double meaning. Melina doesn't intend to deliver anything to us. She intends to pursue us to bring us what we deserve, a destined death. At the end of this video, I want to discuss two theories I came across during my research. The first is that the Gloam-eyed Queen, due to her connection to snakes, could be an in-game reference to Medusa. If we ever see the Gloam-eyed Queen in future content from Software, I would love to see her depicted with snake-like hair. The other thing I want to mention is based on the theory that Messmer might be the son of the Gloam-eyed Queen. In-game, Messmer is called Messmer the Impaler, and is shown in the trailer while impaling his enemies. In history, there was a man called Vlad the Impaler, which was described as a very cruel person that liked to kill his enemies by impaling them. Vlad got the nickname Draculea, and his appearance was the inspiration for the figure we know as Count Dracula. Draculea comes from Draco, which means dragon, and can be translated as the son of the dragon. With that reference in mind, and the fact that dragons got depicted as winged serpents in mythology, now look at the appearance of Messmer the Impaler. Let me know what you think of my theories. What can you add, or what doesn't make sense to you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time.